You're listening to Barbell Logic, brought to you by Barbell Logic Online Coaching, where each week we take a systematic walk through strength training and the refining power of voluntary hardship. So we just completed day 8 of the Take Charge with 10 challenge. We have really, I think one of our big wins came today because, and by the way, so first off, day 8 for us, for everybody, is to cut off caffeine consumption at least 6 hours before bed. And so this was an easy win for us because we don't really do this anyway.
Yeah.
Occasionally, if I'm on a business trip or I'm up late doing business meetings, I might have an espresso or something, after dinner. It doesn't affect me too much, although it probably affects me more than I think. But this is really rare for us. We do like caffeine. I drink espresso every morning. You usually do cold brew. You do tea.
Yep.
I don't have any other caffeine, I don't think, other than my espresso. We don't do pre-workout. If I feel like I need a pre-workout, I just have an espresso. So this one was an easy one. But here is the thing that I think was a big win for us is that last night we had our church life group out to our house and had 15 plus people to the house last night. And we said, we'll provide food, we'll cook. So one, for us, it was a way that we could have some control over the health of the food. But it's difficult to have a group of people that large out to your house. That was not counting our family. And we had nearly 20 people with everybody, counting us. And so we kind of racked our brains a little bit and decided to we did roasted pork tenderloin, very lean pork tenderloin. Went to Sam's and bought a whole bunch of them. I think I cooked 6 of them or something, 6 pork tenderloins, and made a homemade pomodoro sauce. So we made what we call pork pomodoro. I made a homemade tomato sauce. I sun-dried tomatoes, air quotes, sun-dried tomatoes in the oven. In the oven for 6 hours or so throughout the day, and made a really good tomato reduction sauce to put on the pork tenderloin. Seared the pork tenderloin on our Staub cast iron skillet, put them in a big giant roasting pan that we had bought at Sam's, put the tomato sauce over it, put some capers in there. And what I do is I cook it at 500 degrees for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then just turn the oven off and let it sit for the next hour and 10 minutes. And it slow cooks and just becomes just tender and awesome
juicy and tender.
Juicy and wonderful. Doesn't dry out. It was great. So we had very lean meat, and then we made a common side for us. One of the more common sides that we make at home is a roasted root veggies is really what it is. So it's potatoes and we usually use like different types of potatoes and fingerling potatoes of different colors and onions and sweet potatoes and beets. Beets are our favorite. We love roasting beets. If you haven't done that at home, you can roast beets, and it's really just like a potato. It takes on fun flavor, and it's earthy. And
so many people, well, kind of caveat here, we're kind of like the grandma and grandpa of our life group.
Yeah, of our church group.
Me, mom, peepaw, as we call ourselves.
It's a bunch of millennials and us.
Yeah, and so obviously their food repertoire is pretty minimal. And many of them were like, I've never had beets.
Certainly not this way.
Or I've only had them in a can or a jar or pickled and never roasted. So I think we made a hit last night for sure with that one.
So we roasted those, just a little bit of olive oil and tossed them in. So I pre-parboiled them basically a little bit to pre-soften them a tad, and then just put a little bit of olive oil and tossed them in some basic seasonings. And then my secret seasoning for potatoes and roasted root vegetables is everything bagel seasoning, like Trader Joe's. Everything bagel seasoning works great. Roasted those. So we had roasted potatoes. We had, I guess you'd call it roasted pork tenderloin. We are lucky because we have 2 ovens in our house, which when we first moved into this house, I thought, when would we ever use 2 ovens? And the answer is, in fact, every single day.
All the time. All the time.
So it's a great, make desserts in one, make bread in one, and your main dish in the other. And so we've got, so we did that, and then had a huge kale salad, a really good kale salad. It had some cranberries in it and some sunflower seeds and pretty low calorie dressing, and we just lightly tossed it in the dressing, which was great. And then we had some really good whole grain bread, like really well made, like artisanal made, which we did not make. We bought it at a bakery, and just toasted that up, and didn't have to have butter on it or anything. So had a really good meal, even though we were hosting for 15 people. Missed having a glass of wine a little bit for sure. was one of the times that I would have liked to have had a glass of alcohol, but I feel great. I feel great.
Yeah, me too.
I did a bunch of phone calls. I do lots of phone calls and Zoom calls. I know everybody that's listening to this, that's sort of like what the world is now, but I've been doing this for several years. And I'll be honest, I feel really good. I had Zoom calls with people that I have Zoom calls with all the time. Andrew Jackson, Nikki Sims, Nick Solin, my staff, and every single person, when I turned the camera on, had the Zoom call, went, whoa, you look so different. They're like, you look so good. You look so lean. Your skin is like, just my face looks like it's just lost the bloat. Even you were saying today, I was sitting in my chair, and I really was sitting in my chair, sort of lounging between calls for a few minutes, my rocking chair and my lazy boy recliner, and wasn't sitting with great posture and kind of like certainly wasn't sucking in my belly at all.
Right.
And you said, I can't believe.
Yeah, you look deflated.
You're like, but in a good way. Thank you. You were talking about my belly. My belly looks deflated. So I feel good. I think
spare tire.
Same. Do you feel good?
Yeah, I feel great. I feel really good. I think so far for me, the funnest thing has been using MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a game,
yep.
And where I look at what I, kind of thinking ahead for dinner.
Yep.
Because we've talked before, we kind of save a lot of our calories more for dinner, but not to starve ourselves during the day, but
no,
just
we're eating
be more
plenty of food.
Intentional and conscious about what we're eating.
It's interesting when you have the amount of vegetables and fiber that we're eating right now. I haven't felt remotely hungry one time in the 10 days or in the 9 days so far that we've been doing this. And so I feel great. Yes. So we have used MyFitnessPal before. We've gone through times when, for 8 months or 10 months, we use MyFitnessPal. And we have done visual food diaries where, again, we take pictures and we've recorded stuff down on what we've eaten. The thing about MyFitnessPal for us, I think this time through is, and part of this is, I spent a lot of time going through precision nutrition certification in their classes. I've gotten into this more. I've read a bunch more. Like, I would be honest about, I know as much as anyone out there when it comes to strength training and form of strength training, but I'm not at the same level when it comes to nutrition. And so I'm really interested. There's lots of things to learn. So I've been learning a lot, and just a lot of it's about the little tweaks and about certainly calories first and macros second and nutrient timing third. And then, calories trump all. But for us, we've been able to just gamify what we're doing to make it fun, right?
Right.
We mostly get, it's not exactly, but pretty close. We pretty much get 33% of our calories from carbs, 33% from protein, 33% from fat. Of course, that means significantly less grams of fat because fat has a heavier caloric load. And that's been fun. We've gamed it a little bit on MyFitnessPal. And we haven't done it in a way that you can game it and cheat. Like, we haven't gamed it like so that we could go eat a Krispy Kreme donut. We haven't. We've eaten perfect, although I don't feel like I've deprived myself at all. So we're able to use something like MyFitnessPal and really lay out, making sure that we get a third of our calories from each of the primary macronutrients.
Right. So after dinner tonight, I went through and calculated everything and realized that I needed more protein, I needed some more fat, and I needed some more fiber. And so,
but not much on carbs. You were at your limit on carbs.
Yeah, because I had bread for dinner.
Right.
And so we got really creative. I had a protein shake, which protein shakes that we have, 30 grams of protein, low carb, no fat.
Essentially nothing else.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a great way to just get your protein in. But I needed some more fiber. And I literally took a teaspoon, scooped it in the chia seeds, and ate them raw.
A tablespoon is what you did, right?
A tablespoon.
Not a teaspoon. You did a tablespoon of chia seeds.
Please tell me somebody else has done that before.
What's interesting? You end up with these foods that you can use to really, and this is the way it works when you're gaming it to make sure that you hit it just right. So we buy Fairlife protein shakes at pre-made protein shakes at Sam's, and it's like the little bottles of Fairlife milk that have extra protein in it. It's 30 grams for a little bottle, and that's really all there is. And those are in the fridge all the time. Now, we have our whey protein that we make real protein shakes out of, but when you just need 30 grams of protein and nothing else, or to mix 30 grams of protein in with something else, it works great. Like, you'll take grape nuts and you'll eat your cereal with vanilla, that vanilla Fairlife protein. And as a matter of fact, I would like some. I wish Fairlife would do this and not have a flavored version. I would love just like a non-flavored, like a milk flavored version. It's still 30 grams, doesn't have chocolate. So we'll buy chocolate, we buy vanilla, we buy some caramel, salted caramel, I think. And vanilla tends to be the one you drink most often, the one that's most versatile. So you have those, and then you'll have things like for fiber. We've got our Mission Carb tortillas that we use for fiber. We've got our chia seeds that we use for fiber. We've got grape nuts. We've got bran buds, which we actually haven't had very much of lately because it's got more added sugar than what we would really want. Oh, we'll probably go back and have some more of those. Although I'll be honest, the combination for me of you are a cottage cheese person for getting your casein protein in at night.
Right.
And I am a Greek yogurt person for getting mine in. I like cottage cheese, but I don't want to eat it very often. You like Greek yogurt, okay, but you don't want to eat it very often. So mostly...
I like Greek yogurt, the plain. I don't like Siggy's because it's super sour for me.
It's more like kefir. It's too fermented for you. And I love that. Give me all the ferment. So I can't have beer, so I just have Greek yogurt. So you've got these foods. I guess what it is you end up with this, like, you've got 2 or 3 foods in each category that will give you what you need to get the thing done, right? So you've got, everybody kind of has their fats. For me, chia seeds have some fat in it. The other one, I love cashews, and I can take a 1/4 cup of cashews and put those in my Greek yogurt and get some fat if I need some fat. The chia seeds work well as well. Of course, they have lots of fiber in it. The grape nuts give me the carbs and the fiber, right? The bran buds give me carbs and fiber. And the Greek yogurt is it gives you a fair amount of carbs, pretty good amount of carbs, and lots of protein as well. And you're kind of using cottage cheese in the same sort of way. It's just a kind of a strategic use. So it works great. Really proud of how well it's gone. And we were starting to think about in the future, what are the things we would change when we're done with this 10-day challenge? And honestly, for me, it's not going to be very much. This doesn't feel like a diet. We actually had the conversation with our kids tonight that this isn't a diet. They were like, whoa. We're not going to go like hammer, Waffle House here in a couple days. Like, listen, we might go to Waffle House and have a breakfast, but there's no reason for me to go overboard at Waffle House. Would I love to have half a waffle and some fried eggs?
Half a waffle.
I'll probably have half a waffle. Well, I know you laugh at me, but like, there's part of it where like, I don't feel like I need. It's
right.
Maybe
You're not a sweets person, though.
Maybe a better example is something like alcohol, where we might drink a bottle of champagne or a bottle of wine at home, and then when we're done having the bottle of champagne or the bottle of wine through the rest of the night, I might have another couple whiskeys. Right. Now I'm like, I just really would just want one drink, and a lot of it is the caloric load that alcohol brings. This is why I think MyFitnessPal, obviously we're not sponsored by MyFitnessPal. Matter of fact, we both paid significant money to have the premium version of it because I just didn't want to screw around with the extra ads, unlock everything. So we got the premium version of that, which we paid for. I think the thing that it gives you is if I did a visual food diary where all I did was take pictures, you could take pictures and you're like, man, 90%, 95% of your nutrition today looks great. And then there's like, then there's a couple glasses of whiskey at the end of the night. Or for you, maybe it's like a dessert, and then you had like a piece of cake or something. And you're like, it's not that big of a deal. And it's not that big of a deal. The problem is that you don't really have a good handle on how many calories you're actually eating, like what the percentage of macro breakdowns it is. And for some people, they're going to hear this and they're going to be like, I don't want to keep up with that. And I felt like that was me too, but it's actually made it like a game. It's almost like throughout the day, I've kind of got this video game I'm playing in the background that's like, okay, what am I going to eat now? What do I need? And I have these things that I actually really like that I can add. So I've never gotten into the point where I'm going, man, I've had too many calories today. I need to like starve myself, or I need to eat stuff that tastes terrible that I don't want. That's the way cottage cheese is for me after a while. Like, I'll have cottage cheese as a side for something, but I don't want cottage cheese as a meal. That's gross. But Greek yogurt I can do, and it's great.
Hey, I have a friend that actually told me she mixes her Greek yogurt and her cottage cheese.
I can see that. I mean, I can see why. It's just, it's just a solid way to use dairy. So wins all around still, 8 days in, doing great. Day 9 coming up tomorrow. And really for us, I think this is not going to be, I think we've got through the hard ones and now it's about solidifying what we're doing. So tomorrow is to just really balance our meals, to make sure that to reduce blood sugar crashes and improve energy and mood. Really what it is it's trying to get protein, carbs, and fat at every meal, every time you eat. which for us is 4 or 5 times a day, not 3 times a day usually.
Right.
But we're doing that already. I mean, that's what we're doing already. I'm constantly looking at that pie chart of macros.
Visually, yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at the pie chart on MyFitnessPal, and I'm trying to keep it as close as I can to kind of 33, 33, 33. If one seems a little too high and the other one seems a little low, I'll bump up the low one a little bit. It's not that hard to do. And so that's kind of how we've gamed the system in a way that I think is still very healthy. I'm really happy. I feel freaking great.
You look great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So thanks for listening again. We'll talk to you tomorrow for day 9. See ya. All right, welcome to day 9. Just completed day 9 of the Take Charge with 10 Nutrition Challenge. Loving it. Having a great time.
Oh, yeah. Feel great.
You tried a new breakfast this morning.
I did. I'm so behind on all this. I know people have been doing this for years, but I tried the overnight oats, which was a lot more simple than I thought it was going to be.
Now, first off, let's say, I remember that Jillian, and we've got people on our staff that have posted recipes for this, and I was just trying to remember kind of what they did. So we'll say what we did, and there probably are some other things you can do to make this better. But what'd you do? You took a shaker cup.
I took a shaker cup. Yep. And I put in one of my Fairlife protein vanilla shakes.
Yep.
And which is about a cup of milk.
Yep.
I think is what it comes out to. And then a half cup of old-fashioned oats.
Yep.
Poured those in dry. Mm-hmm. And then 1 tablespoon of chia seeds and shook it up and put it in the refrigerator overnight. And this morning,
hammered it and you were good.
Yeah. So I'm so far behind on things like this that I actually Googled, do you eat them cold or do you eat them hot?
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that.
I didn't know. I
had calls all day. So I
was supposed to heat these things up and eat them. I mean, obviously that's the way people typically eat oatmeal.
It's cold.
But yeah, typically people eat them cold. You can, it's preference. It's complete preference. So I opened them up and stirred them around, give them a little good stir. And I put some blueberries and raspberries in this morning for extra fiber with my raspberries. And it was really good. I really like it.
Good. So you think you'll do that some more in the future?
Oh, definitely.
Put that on rotation.
For sure, yeah.
You tend to, and really both of us are like this, if we train, we tend to train kind of mid-morning. And so on training days, we tend to have a bigger breakfast, right? So we almost always have eggs for the protein and mixed with veggies and whatnot. And then some sort of good carbohydrates that might be sweet potatoes, like a sweet potato hash. For me, it's still normally Greek yogurt. I know people, I've probably mentioned Greek yogurt now 40 times over the course of this podcast.
And I have cocoa wheat.
You have cocoa wheat. So basically it's kind of like cream of wheat or, malto meal, stuff like that. So that works pretty well. Today was a day where I was super busy all day long with business stuff, lots of calls, lots of Zoom calls, back to back to back all day long. And so I probably underate a little bit today for breakfast. I had a Fairlife protein shake really quick. And then I had a cup of Greek yogurt that I then put lots of berries in. I put strawberries, a quarter cup of strawberries, about a third a cup of raspberries, and about another half cup or so of blueberries, and then a tablespoon. I think I actually maybe put 2 tablespoons of chia seeds in. So a full serving of chia seeds.
Yeah, the full serving.
Full serving chia seeds. And I had that, and just because I needed to eat quick and it was between calls and did calls. At lunch today, I had chicken salad that we had made. I think we talked about that on the podcast. Mm-hmm. Some of the leftover chicken salad that we had, which was really good. And I put it on a Mission low-carb tortilla so that I got some additional, there's not much carbohydrates in that chicken salad, heavy on the chicken, not much fiber in it as well. So to have that extra fiber, I had that for lunch. I just basically had my 3 meals today. I've had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we went to Texas Roadhouse tonight. We don't eat out. Matter of fact, we haven't eaten out very much at all the last 9 days. And let me say first, the challenge for today is to eat, we were talking about this last night in prepping for today, was just basically to eat a balanced diet. So we want to try to avoid blood sugar crashes and things like that. I've talked about that either. I had a blood sugar crash on, day 3 or something on this challenge. And so it's really the goal there is to make sure that you have protein and carbohydrates and fat sort of equal as best as you can at all of the meals that we eat. And we tend to eat 4 or 5 meals a day. Today, I've only had 3 so far. It's pushing 8 o'clock at night. I definitely will have a meal before I go to bed of, again, Greek yogurt and probably some cashews and get some. I like the combination of casein, milk protein because it's slow digesting anyway, mixed with some kind of fat. So probably some chia seeds and some cashews. So I've got enough fat because I still have plenty of fat that I've banked for the day. But we went to Texas Roadhouse tonight. So the girls love Texas Roadhouse. It's right down the block from our house. And one of the cool things about Texas Roadhouse, we're not chain people. We don't eat at chains very often. Texas Roadhouse is probably the one we eat at most often. But the nice thing is that all of their stuff is, for the most part, almost everything on their menu is the sort of green check mark verified on MyFitnessPal. So we actually planned what we were going to eat before we went to Texas Roadhouse, which is kind of another, I think, really solid strategy. So we went in and we like fillets. Fillets are very tender steak that tend to be very lean, less chewy than like a sirloin or something. Not that there's anything wrong with the sirloin or something as well. I had a sweet potato with nothing on it. I just had them put cinnamon on my sweet potato. And then I took Splenda and sprinkled it on my sweet potato. You had banked a lot of calories today. So you had a loaded sweet potato, which actually wasn't that high. What was it? About 280 calories, something like that, or something somewhere along it was about 300 calories.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad at all.
It was no butter on it, I don't think. It was just some marshmallows, and it had some extra sugar and stuff on it.
Cinnamon, like a cinnamon sugar.
Yep. And then you had green beans with so you had a fillet, 6-ounce fillet, I had an 8-ounce fillet.
Yep.
Sweet potatoes for both. And then you had green beans. I had corn. I was just craving corn.
Yeah.
I'd had corn in a long time. And so had some corn.
The biggest, if you know anything about Texas Roadhouse, what they're known for are their
honey
rolls
cinnamon butter.
and honey cinnamon butter.
Yeah.
So they come out hot.
Yeah.
And
how many rolls did we have?
None.
Didn't have any. There have been times when I've gone to Texas Roadhouse this is actually an interesting point. I've gone to Texas Roadhouse before when I'm dieting, when I'm like, no shit dieting. And I cannot stay out of the rolls. Now, I don't have 100 rolls, but I have a roll almost always. And I usually have a bite or two of that butter because it's delicious. Because I don't feel like I'm dieting right now, I didn't have the craving to have the roll. Like, it would have been nice to have a bite or two of rolls. It's not really about the sacrifice. It just didn't feel like it was much of a sacrifice. It wasn't worth it to me to have those calories. I would have loved to have had, I have a habit of one of the few places that I'll go where I'll actually have sort of corporate American white trash beer is at Texas Roadhouse, because at least in ours, and this is probably like, I think Frosty chill mug of American corporate beer is like $1.50 at Texas Roadhouse. So I'll drink, Bud Light or Michelob Ultra or something. And maybe a little bit of craving for a beer. It was funny. I was telling Andrew Jackson today that I've actually craved beer more than I've craved whiskey. And I think on an average month, I probably drink about 3 to 5 beers a month. And on an average day, I might have 3 to 5 whiskeys. And I really haven't craved whiskey hardly at all, but there's something about, a beer with sort of American food, that kind of steak and potatoes, or when we've had tacos or so. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Something like that would have been nice. But
right.
Again, I think we did really well. We were able to preload everything in MyFitnessPal, know exactly what we're going to eat. And I still have quite a few calories left over for the night. So I still get to have some stuff before I go to bed tonight. So, with yesterday being like limiting caffeine consumption, 6 hours before bed, that was an easy one for us. Because we were using MyFitnessPal, we've already been doing the try to get an equal amount of calories really from the protein, fat, and carbs. So that hasn't been too difficult either for us. It's going pretty well. Tomorrow is the other reason we ate out tonight is tomorrow, the last step of this is to know exactly what's in your food. You have to eat all your meals at home. And we've mostly been doing that for the 10 days anyway. But we thought, well, since we're going to make a commitment to not eat out tomorrow, let's go have dinner out tonight as a family. So we did.
Because it's a Friday night.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Gotta eat out
so
on
as a matter
Friday
of fact,
night, right?
So Kinsley's on the show.
Hi.
And she had a really great meal. Again, we've been very careful to talk about the difference between diet and sustainable nutrition. We don't want to put our kids on a diet. We've got healthy kids. They're super active. That's not what it's about. It's about developing healthy habits. And so what did you have at Texas Roadhouse tonight?
I had a steak, salad, and green beans.
That's right. So you had a 6-ounce sirloin.
Yes.
And how did you eat your sirloin?
I just cut it.
No, that's not what I
What?
meant. How did they cook your sirloin?
Rare.
That's right. That's the way you eat it, people. We eat it rare. We always say it 3 times in our household when we order.
You forget kids are literal. How'd you eat? With a fork?
She's like, with a fork and
a
knife,
knife.
Dad. That's how I ate it. I put it in my mouth, I'd shoot it up, and I swallowed it. What are you
Yep.
talking about? No, so rare steak. That's right. You had one roll. You had a roll.
Yes.
And then you had green beans, which was a good choice. And then you had a house salad. I did too. I didn't say this. Where you and I both had house salads.
Yes.
What we do with our dressing.
We only put half of it on.
Because we ordered it on the side.
Yes,
right?
but I had a fat-free thing.
You did not have a fat-free thing.
Low fat, whatever.
Yeah, you had some low-fat ranch, and you put about half of it on the salad. And I had some blue cheese, again, because I had some fat to bank. And the other thing about blue cheese tends to be pretty high in calories because it's so much fat. But it's super flavorful. So first off, I asked if they had a balsamic, any sort of balsamic, and they did not, right? So you can
True story.
attest this.
True.
I was like, do you have any balsamic? Nope. The closest thing we had to balsamic is 300-calorie Italian.
Yes.
I was like, so I was like, bring me the blue cheese. And then I just dribbled a little blue cheese on because I didn't need very much. And we did just fine. So had a good solid meal. Kaylin had about the same thing. She also had a 6-ounce sirloin. She also had green beans. I think she had some mushrooms.
Yep.
And again, it didn't feel like everybody got, we're not telling our kids what to order on the menu. We're like,
No.
order what you want, right?
They've always really been good about eating their veggies and meat and things. We've never really had a fight.
It's more for them. It's more the sweet tea and the soda. And so you went water, right, Kinsley? You had water. And Kaylin had unsweet tea and just added Splenda to it. And so it's going great. I mean, we're, pretty well balanced across the board and everybody feels good. And Kaylin said, we need to have her talk about this tomorrow night. She's not on the call tonight, but she's 16 years old. She said she can't believe the difference in her complexion on her face, right? I know you asked her about that a little bit. And then afterwards, you're like, is that real? And she was like, oh my gosh, huge difference. And it's just part of being a teenager. And her skin's been super clear. And that may be due to the additional water that she's drinking or just the healthy choices she's making across the board. So we've had a lot of fun doing this together. So if you're thinking about doing this, at this point, as you hear this, the challenge is kicking off as we speak. And so I think it's a great thing to do with your family because it's not a diet. You don't have to go to your kid and be like, hey, we want to put you on a diet. Don't do that, right? But instead, as a family, we can make healthy choices together. We can drink more water together. We can eat less sugar. We can have more veggies and more fiber and all those sort of things. And that's why I think as we started to talk about what are we going to change after this thing is over, the answer is not very much.
No. Well, we're going to continue. You mean prior to this 10-day challenge?
I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing right now.
Right.
At the end of the 10-day challenge, I'm going to go to day 11 and I'm going to do the same thing, right?
Right.
I may have a beer. I may have one drink. I think I would be surprised if I don't want more than a drink of alcohol. You'll probably have a dessert here and there. So occasionally you're going to go over the 50 grams of added sugar, but probably less than normal. And little things like, we were talking about the story about last night, having everyone out to the house, someone brought a key lime pie. So we made all the food. We ate really healthy. They brought key lime pie. And then typically the way the nutrition serving size was set up, it was 1/8 of a piece. She cut something between 10 and 12 pieces, I think, out of the key lime pie. And then so we took a smaller piece than you would normally have, and we cut that right down the middle in half. And so we basically had like 1/20th of a key lime pie. It was like 3 bites of key lime pie.
But it was satiate.
Yeah, again, I'm sure people are going to listen to this and be like, really? Is that what you're... But like, that was all I wanted. I had 3 bites of key lime pie and was like, yeah, that's fine. I'm good. And because I had already eaten real food, if I had been on an empty stomach, had 3 bites of key lime pie, I'd be like, bro, give me the rest of that key lime pie.
Right.
But because I had already had I had pork tenderloin and the potatoes and all the things and the salad and stuff, like I wasn't hungry. So then it was just more about like, yeah, I got to taste, something kind of sweet and some kind of sour and that key lime goodness. And like, yeah, 3 bites was enough. And then you're not having a 600 calorie dessert. You had a 90 calorie dessert, which is nothing. So lots of fun again. Things are continuing to go well. Thanks for sticking with us through this. Family has done very well. And it's provided us lots of good conversations at dinner, being a little more intentional about eating together as a family over the last 9 days. So 1 day to go. Tomorrow is know exactly what's in your food and to cook everything at home. And again, we've been doing that mostly, so it shouldn't be too tough for us. So we will cook everything at home tomorrow. And tomorrow is a Friday for us. And then Saturday, we might enjoy ourselves a little bit, but I don't think we're going to go overboard.
No.
Probably will have my first drink. Again, oddly enough, might be a beer instead of a whiskey because it kind of feels like that. Wouldn't mind having a glass of wine or some champagne here and there. But man, for the most part, I just feel really good. So All right, so that's day 9, 1 day to go, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back to the last day or review of the last day and really the entire Take Charge 10 Nutrition Challenge. We're actually down at our cabin. You guys have heard about this place before. One time, Nikki and Andrew and I recorded a podcast down here, and then we had no way to upload the podcast. We got stuck for several days down here. I've actually been stuck down here several times, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, rural Missouri. We came down for the weekend just to hang out, and yesterday, the last day of our Take Charge 10 Nutrition Challenge was you have to know exactly what you're eating, no eating out. And so we had to make all of our own food. And there is a really cute little diner here, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles away that we'll eat at. Sometimes there's actually then another really like a southern fried hospitality place. It's like a really kind of fun place to eat at. Obviously, we didn't eat at either one of those places. And I was down here several weeks ago when we had like 14 below temperature. My water was frozen. And I came down here to try to get the water thawed out. And I actually got stuck down here for 4 days because the storms were bad enough and the snow was bad enough. I couldn't get my truck out. And so I basically lived on what was here in the cabin, which is by its very nature non-perishable food. So I lived on frozen pizza and Frito chili pie and stuff that just wasn't healthy.
And no showers and
no water, no shower. And,
dishes.
that's right. It's melting snow to flush the toilet once a day. And so we came better prepared this time around. And I was down here by myself for 4 days or so. We came down for a couple days. And so we completed our day 10 yesterday. We're down at the cabin, having just completed our Take Charge 10 Nutrition Challenge. And so yesterday was day 10. Day 10 for us was make all your food at home. You can't eat out at a restaurant. We've got some restaurants down here, 5 to 15 miles away from the cabin that we have out in the middle of the woods that we like to eat at. Obviously, that's a no-go yesterday. And so we started in Springfield. We had our regular meal like we normally would have for breakfast, which was our egg meal. So eggs, both like a combination of whole eggs and egg whites, a little bit of microwave bacon, like just a little bit to give it some flavor, a lot of spinach, a lot of tomatoes. That's kind of our protein. Our protein go-to meal. And then I had my Greek yogurt, which is kind of my superfood, my Siggy's Greek yogurt. I had some grape nuts and some chia seeds in it. So to get my carbs and some fiber as well.
Right.
And you had, what did you have for
I had my cocoa wheats.
Cocoa wheats?
And I had a cold brew nitro.
Perfect.
Because Mama needed some caffeine.
And we had a big workout yesterday.
Yeah.
So we squatted and deadlifted. And then our favorite lower body workouts right now is to squat and deadlift moderately heavy and moderate volume, nothing too high, and then go out into the garage where all the accessory equipment is and run a circuit of the lower body machinery. So again, we've got a glute ham raise and a reverse hyper and leg extension, leg curl and a leg press and an echo bike. And so we pick a handful of those and go through
Get the
circuits.
heart pumping.
That's right. And so we did that yesterday and had a really good workout. Yesterday for lunch, we had some leftover Monster Mash. I had a bunch of calls yesterday during the day. And you just heated me up some Monster Mash and brought it upstairs. It was already here. That's what you had as well. And then we packed up all of our stuff and got into the truck and Kaylin's car. Kaylin got to, welcome to the show.
Hi.
You got to drive down to the cabin in the woods for the first time in your little SUV and went okay, right?
Yeah.
So we came down last night with a plan for how to make something relatively healthy at the cabin. And so we typically are early dinner people. We'll
Right.
eat at 5:30 or 6. We didn't get down here until almost 6 last night. And I had planned on making Cameron Cox's famous charcoal Cox wings, chicken wings on the grill with his Cox barbecue sauce, which I absolutely love. And so as soon as we got here, I started the charcoal in the charcoal starter, whatever that little chimney starter piece. Got the charcoal started, we unloaded the car, and we needed some pre-dinner snack. And so we made what?
We used burrata cheese and cherub tomatoes and some basil leaves and mixed them up and made kind of a caprese.
Yeah, made a caprese salad.
Delicious.
It was fantastic. And we had a few pieces of some super whole grain, nice bread that we had a few nights before when we had everybody out to the house. We brought that with us, toasted it up into small little toast points, and we're able to eat a pretty healthy, what typically might be for me, like some handfuls of nuts or snack crackers and a beer or a whiskey or a martini or something as a pre-dinner snack, which would be significantly higher in calories and mostly empty calories, we were able to have a pretty good, I call it a snack. That was kind of the first course.
Yeah.
It was really course number one. And so we were all able to eat on that. And then we had our barbecue chicken, legs for some of you guys, legs for Rachel doesn't eat wings. I know.
Sorry.
You can send her an email.
I don't like the bone.
And Kinsley.
You can send her an email.
Kinsley is the same way. So drumsticks for the well, you did have some wings.
Yeah.
And
most
you had
of them
drums.
were wings.
Okay, gotcha. And Kaylin and I hammered wings, and they were delicious.
Yeah.
So we had chicken wings last night, which again, fat is a little higher. We've eaten a lot leaner meat in general, but we had sort of banked our fat for the day for the most part. Had the chicken wings, and of course, we didn't baste them in. I didn't put any olive oil on them or anything. They were perfectly good the way they were. Just used the Lowry's as the dry rub, and then barbecued them, and then barbecue sauce on, and it was great. So we had chicken wings. We had oven-baked fries, which are like one ingredient fries. So just basically made French fries out of potatoes and put them in the oven and had those and put some pink Himalayan salt on them. And that was it. And had our chicken wings. And that was it. We got it through the 10 days. I feel great. How you guys feel?
I feel pretty good.
Yeah. And you've talked a lot about like your skin and your
Yeah.
hair and your like just like how things feel like less greasy, less oily.
Yeah.
Things feel cleaner. And so, yeah, we feel great. And, not only has the nutrition piece gone well with the challenge, it's been fun doing it together as a family. It's kind of made us focus a little more. We eat together quite a bit anyway.
A lot. Yeah, we really.
Especially for
really-
dinner.
Yeah, especially.
We tend to eat breakfast at similar times, but often eat different things and then are almost always eating completely different stuff at lunchtime. I mean, you and I might eat the same thing,
Yeah.
but the girls
Our
usually...
girls don't like all that extra.
Yeah, all
that
the
we
extra
call-
stuff. Yeah, all the...
the tomatoes and the spinach.
My normal breakfast is like 2 eggs and a cup of raspberries. That's mostly what I ate
Not
the
in the
entire
eggs,
time.
though.
No.
Separate.
No, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinsley likes breakfast sandwiches, right?
Yep, and she do breakfast sandwiches. So it's gone really, really well. So we're through the 10 days. So I guess in looking back, well, let me ask all of you guys this. So Kaylin first, what was the hardest part of the 10-day challenge?
I'd say no snacks and no sugar.
Yeah. Low sugar
Low sugar.
and no mindless snacking. So we did snack. We just planned the snacks.
Yeah.
So
But you wanted them to be healthy, which is fair. But I really just wanted a Snickers bar.
which really isn't that bad. And actually, typically your snacks will land on more like salt and vinegar or dill pickle chips,
True.
which really have no nutritional value whatsoever. You at least probably
No.
get some nutritional value out of a Snickers bar.
Okay.
And you've been craving that. So that's probably something that you'll have in the next day or so
Probably
to satisfy
so.
that craving. Kinsley, how about you? What was the toughest part of this for you?
Snacks and sugar.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Snacks and sugar.
Yep.
Snacks and sugar. Mama,
I bet you can all probably guess this by now.
probably sugar.
Yeah.
And then alcohol number 2. Although not too.
No, not too bad.
too
Yeah, I
tough.
figured not.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing for me is to make sure that all of my meals are planned out and planned
Yeah.
ahead, because it's that typical, fail to plan to fail, all
Yeah.
that type stuff. And so I feel like that taking time to do that, because you're always like, did you log your stuff? Did you log your stuff? Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I need to do that. I need to do that. And so getting in that habit wasn't hard, but definitely something I had to work on. But I would say for sure it had to be the sugar.
You like to have a dessert.
I do.
And you can, right? So now you've kind of figured out how to be able to cut out the bulk of your sugar from everywhere else, and having a dessert, 3, 4, 5 times a week at dinner, especially if it's a smaller serving of dessert,
Right.
and you bank the sugar, save the carbs for later, probably fine. Totally doable.
Like we said a couple of times, where like when we had our taco meal, and it was kind of like my mouth was wanting a margarita, a
Right.
mezcal margarita,
Yes.
particularly.
And we are on day 11.
Yeah.
We're on day 11 and it's almost noon. We have not had a sip of alcohol yet. So I am now actually just about at 11 full days, 10 days and about 20 hours since my last sip of alcohol. And at the cabin, that is true.
No, because we
This
didn't
started
cut
on
out
day
alcohol
6.
until day 6.
Oh, that's true. That
I
is
was
true.
like,
Sorry,
wait a
I'm not-
minute.
No, you're exactly right.
Reynolds exaggeration.
No, that's exactly right. So that's right.
It's been 10
I haven't had alcohol.
days.
That's true, actually. That's actually interesting. So I should wait a few more hours. I haven't had alcohol in almost 7 days. So it's been 6.5 days so far.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, good call. So no alcohol. Although the alcohol I had up to that point was extremely low because of just the calorie load that the alcohol was. And so for me, here's the interesting thing. In the short term, the hardest thing for me was actually cutting the fat out. I crave fat and salt's no big deal. I crave the combination really of fat and salt more than anything else. And the interesting thing that's happened over the last 10, 11 days is learning where to pull fat out to still be able to get enough to satiate my appetite and to use it when I really wanted it or really when I really needed it, rather than just getting it all the time. And so the interesting thing about MyFitnessPal is you go from sort of, picture logging what we were eating to putting things in MyFitnessPal. And I mean, the first day, I think I was like 300 or 400 calories over on the very first day in calories because it had been a long time since I logged. And the next day you start figuring out and you start tweaking it. Okay, now the calories are right, but the macros aren't quite balanced out correctly. And then you start getting to the point where the macros are balanced out correctly and the calories are correct. Now, the interesting thing that I've done the last 2 days is I'm starting to load my food into MyFitnessPal before I eat it. So I'm actually logging it before I eat it because I can always go back and change it. What I'm doing is I'm planning. So I'm like, okay, if I have this, and this, what does that make my calorie load look like? And how's the macro breakdown? So we'll get to breakfast here in a minute. Our first kind of semi-cheat meal was for breakfast this morning. Cutting the fat out was my number one. And I feel like I've gotten a good handle of that over the course of the last 10, 11 days, even with a day like yesterday where we had chicken wings for dinner. So kind of a high fat meat instead of a lean meat. It's not that hard to be able to save up and again, just budget your fat grams. Number 2 for me is definitely the alcohol, although I really think that I'll cut back tremendously on the alcohol because my plan moving forward is to definitely continue to use MyFitnessPal and to try to log what I'm eating. Are you going to do that as well, Rachel? Use MyFitnessPal?
Oh, for sure.
I got it yesterday.
You did? You're going to start trying to use it?
Yeah.
I just don't want you to get neurotic about it. And what I mean by that is you're a healthy 16-year-old girl. I don't want you to get neurotic about logging your stuff, right?
Well, I forget anyway. So
Right.
I'll probably just like, oh, okay.
It's nice for me and for Rachel, I think, to be able to look back or even look forward and say, here's exactly what I've had. And things like fiber, being able to make fiber. I've had no problem getting my 25 or 30 grams of fiber. I thought that would be tough. I'm able to get 50, 60, 70 grams of fiber if I want to, just by putting stuff in my yogurt. I mean, that's not that hard to do.
Right. And then, thinking long term, we've talked about this a lot. What amount of each of the macros and our calories do we need to take to maintain or to lose? So over the next week, we're going to be playing with some of that as well. I did lose weight. I lost a little over 2.5 pounds and 1 inch on my waist. And women deal with the water fluctuation. So that's
you've got hormonal cycles over the course of the month that you have to deal with that I don't. We're aiming for 1%-ish body weight loss per week. And so that would be the goal, is any more than 1% of total body weight. And of course, we want to skew that towards mostly fat. 1% is about the goal. And so if I started, I'm not 300 pounds, I'm 282 this morning. But back in, I think, November, December, early January, I was close to 300 pounds.
Hibernation weight.
So I am down about 20 pounds total since, but I'm down 6 pounds over the last 10 days. A lot of that's water. We're going to see kind of how that levels out. So I'm trying to eat about 3,000 calories a day, actually exactly. And you're about 2/3 of what I'm eating. And so we're just going to keep watching it. If the weight continues to come down at a clip of about 1% per week, then we'll keep the calories the same until it slows down. And then we'll start to make adjustments and drop 150 or 200 calories out of our nutrition. The goal here is we're going to Mexico in May as a family. And so that gives us, we are 8 weeks away or 8.5 weeks away from going to Mexico. So that gives us an opportunity to have a nice little 9 to 10 week window for Rachel and I specifically to try to continue to lose and try to drop body fat, and then have probably a 2-month or so maintenance period after which we'll start with Mexico. And we don't go nuts at Mexico. We don't go nuts, especially at the place we go to, and we train and we have fun doing that. So it's been good. So we ended last night. All was well. Watched Netflix together, watched murder mysteries together on Netflix, and had made food here at home, and were able to eat pretty healthy. Also had a little carrots and hummus and some additional fiber there as well. And then this morning we decided, because Kaylin had said that she was really craving
I was craving Waffle House.
Waffle House. She's like, man, Waffle House is the thing I want.
Yeah, I was like, waffles and a bunch of syrup sounds awesome.
So we went to this cute little diner that's in the little town that's 4 or 5 miles away from the cabin, and we had breakfast. And so very different than what this was, and I just tried to watch it. Like, I ended up having 4 eggs, sunny side up, and praying, like, please don't use lots of oil in it. And it wasn't, a lot of times you get fried eggs and they're like crazy greasy. Wasn't greasy, had some bacon. They were actually thin, pretty thin cut bacon and pretty crispy. I had 1 piece of rye toast with no butter, which I basically just used to mop up the egg yolks because it's delicious. And I had a waffle with no butter because I don't really need butter on, well, I just don't care that much, and put a whole bunch of syrup on it. And it was delicious. And I drank water. I had coffee this morning early here at the cabin when I woke up early, since I woke up 4 hours before everybody else did. Just drank coffee,
gosh.
drank coffee, and we all kind of had similar stuff. So it was still kind of eggs and bacon. You guys had French toast.
Yeah.
All 3 of us.
I had a little bit of everything. I had 2 pieces of French toast. I had a whole bunch of hash browns. I had scrambled eggs and bacon.
So to
very
put things
full.
in perspective, is I still felt like I was holding back. I have gone to that diner before and done 6 fried eggs, double order of bacon, biscuits and gravy, and a waffle with syrup. And today, in holding back and going 4 eggs, 4 pieces of bacon, 1 piece of toast that doesn't have butter on it, and a waffle with no butter and just syrup, was still over 1,100 calories, just almost 1,200 calories this morning for breakfast. And I've been averaging about 500 calories, 550, maybe up to 600 on my heavy workout days. So you're talking about double the calories. And I'm thinking to myself, how many times have I gone to a place like this and I've had a 3,000 calorie breakfast? It's many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because 6
That's
fried
crazy.
eggs and a bunch of biscuits and gravy and a waffle. I mean, it's
yeah.
brutal.
Easy to do in one
Yeah.
meal.
Easy to do.
Yeah.
You just don't realize it. You're like, oh, it's a good breakfast, you know?
A well-balanced meal, as they say.
Yeah.
You get everything. And
That-
so
It's like
Carbs,
a billion
protein.
calories. Oh my goodness.
if I went back again, of course, I hadn't had a fried egg in Lord knows how long. Been a very long time since I had a fried egg. I was craving it. I was like, I haven't had any. I've been real careful. Here's what I did. We've already got dinner planned tonight for here at the cabin. We already have lunch because I ate a big breakfast and I ate after 9. It was like 9:30. I'd actually had a little protein shake when I first woke up this morning and some coffee because I knew it was going to be a while before you guys got around and we were able to go eat. So I was able to have a little protein. So I didn't, to fight muscle loss. And then was able to have a nice big breakfast this morning. I'm not really that hungry for lunch. I'm probably just going to have my nice bowl of Greek yogurt and I'll put my grape nuts in it and I'll put some chia seeds. And my lunch will end up being 350 calories or 400 calories instead of the typical 600 there. So I'll save some there. And then dinner tonight will be just going to have salads and like plenty of meat, lean meat, beans, things like that, so that I still think by the end of the day, I'm going to be close to my caloric goals. My goal today was to not go over 500 calories over. So 3,500 max. And I'm not shooting for 3,500. I'm still shooting for 3,000 if I can. But I think that stuff will stay the same. I think continuing for us to track on MyFitnessPal, being able to make a game of it, continue to train. Came back from breakfast, made you guys a deal. I had a truckload full of firewood. Like literally my truck was full of firewood that needed to be unloaded. I made you guys a deal. I said, you know what? I need to get a workout in, and it's been raining all day. Rachel and I are going to go hiking at some point, maybe later today. But I mean, it has rained for like 30 straight hours. And so it's soupy everywhere. So I backed my truck up to the porch. I said, I'll unload all the firewood and stack all the firewood if you guys work on the inside of the cabin, clean the cabin, wash the bed sheets, stuff like that. So she said, yes. So I was actually able to get in a 30-minute hard kind of cardio workout of just unloading wood and stacking firewood this morning, which probably helped give me some rebate back on those calories for breakfast. So anyway, having fun. I think Jillian has done a wonderful job. The nutrition team's done a wonderful job in putting the Take Charge 10 together. I hope that as you listen to this, you're in the middle of it. Again, we did it a couple weeks ahead of time. You can go do that. You can search on Instagram, hashtag TakeCharge10, TakeCharge10, or go to the website and you can see it's a completely free challenge. It costs nothing. We're not asking for a buy up, not at the end. Like, it's just, we want to show it's a great reset for anybody. So whether you're already a block client who's not a nutrition client, or somebody who's considering nutrition, or just a friend or family member, this is super fun to do together as a family because it's all healthy steps.
Right. And that's what I was going to reiterate, is that it's fun to do as a family. And obviously, like you kind of mentioned before, we don't want our kids to be neurotic about every teeny tiny thing that goes in their mouth, just to make healthy choices and just to be conscious of, is this good for my body? Is this fueling my body the way that it should? And to not be overly worried that everything that goes in your mouth has to be that. It's okay to have things. If you're craving a Snickers bar,
Have a Snickers bar.
Have a Snickers bar. So I think it's just important to teach those healthy habits and model that for your family as well. And I think it's a lot of fun to do it as a family.
Yes.
I don't know if surely anybody that's listening has done a diet or some sort of change in lifestyle, maybe training. It's harder to do by yourself. And if you don't have a partner or a family member or a friend that you can do that with, it makes it harder to keep that habit and to stick with it. But if you've got somebody that you're making meals with, or when you go out to eat and you talk about, hey, what are we going to eat tonight? Or what are we going to make for dinner? Or where are we going to go? And to plan all those things with somebody, it makes it a lot easier. And so like I said, if you don't have somebody, find a friend to help you do that.
I love that this is not restrictive, so it allows us to do it with our kids, right? If it's a diet that places morality on food, which just doesn't do it all, right? You see these diets for like, fat is evil, or carbs are evil, we're going to only eat keto, or red meat is evil, or gluten is evil, or whatever. We don't place morality. That makes it that much harder to do it with other people. And especially, I would even say, irresponsible to do it with your kids. But in a situation like this, you're talking about increasing your water intake, increasing your fiber, cutting down on your sugar, making sure your meals are well balanced, having intentional, like you said earlier in the episode, about being intentional about what you're actually eating and putting in your mouth. Like, those are all things that anybody can do and should do, and are good habits for anybody of any age, whether that is somebody who is a prepubescent kid, teenagers in the middle of puberty, adults, all the way to seniors. These are all good habits that work for everyone because they are just generally healthy habits. It's not a restrictive, we're not eating, and today we're going to carb cycle, or today we're going to eat 500 calories and take HCG. Like, you can't do one that's not healthy for anybody. And what a horrific thing to try to put your kids through. And so this was really, really fun. So we had a blast. And so we'll continue doing it. Last question for all of you is, so I asked you what your hardest thing was. What are the things you want to make sure that you take from the past 10 days and continue doing from here on out? Like, this was a great habit, and I think I can continue doing this thing.
Drinking water, definitely number one for me. Like, my skin is cleared up, and like, I just feel so much better about myself. And I mean, I love water. Definitely, like, I could just drink it all the time, and I do. I drink it all the time, so it's not really like a hassle for me to have to like go out of my way and drink a whole bunch of water. So just,
That's good.
But
Tinsley?
you also drink a lot of sweet tea, and you substitute with sugary things as well.
This is true.
So you've actually you've cut those out.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be
I had my first sweet tea today, like for the first time, and I don't know, like 2 weeks probably, because I haven't had it at all for a while.
How'd it make you feel?
Good.
And that's okay. It's actually better,
I
right?
miss my sweet tea.
Well, it's, no reason to shame somebody for that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm the same way. Like, real sweet tea is really good, and I'll have a handful of them a year. Yeah. But for me, an unsweetened or a Splenda sweetened or a stevia sweetened sweet tea that doesn't have any calories is like 95% as good for me.
Yeah,
as
I
a
agree.
Sweet tea. And honestly, water for me is 90% as good, especially the carbonated water we have at home that I squeeze some lime in. I like it just as much as tea.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not about like, oh, I have to give up soda because I'm not really drinking soda anyway. So,
Yeah. I could definitely get used to just drinking unsweet tea with like a whole bunch of Splenda in it.
Right.
I mean, that wouldn't kill me.
Which I'm sure we'll have people write in and talk about how artificial sweeteners are, going to kill you with cancer. And they're probably not super healthy. But my argument there has always been that the problem in the Western diet and the United States specifically is not people dying of cancer from fake sugars. It's from metabolic syndrome and fall out of that. It's diabetes, it's heart disease, it's overweight. It's all of these things that come from that. And so certainly it's probably a decent trade-off to make, at least in the short term. So Kinsley, how about you? What are some of the habits that you've picked up, or maybe your favorite habit that you picked up that you're going to continue to try?
Probably water and sugar.
Yeah, continue to cut out sugar.
Yep.
You're not a huge sugar person either, so it's probably not super hard for you to cut it out. Like there are times you'll have it, but like for you, same thing. You'll drink diet soda and you like diet soda. You actually can't really taste the difference between like a Diet Coke and regular Coke.
Yep.
So yeah, that's probably a great place to start.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I'm going to go with the trend here, and for sure water. I've said before, I'm not a big drinker, period. Like I don't drink cans of LaCroix all day. I could go a whole day and maybe drink one bottle of water.
Right.
And so definitely that's the habit of doing that is something I want to keep. Like we've said before, the MyFitnessPal, keeping the habit of following our macros and calorie intake and everything. That's definitely something I want to keep doing. Meal planning kind of goes along with that as well. Lunches, for some reason, have always been a hassle for us because you're either on a phone call or the girls are gone or something, and we just can't connect. And if I don't have something in the refrigerator, then it's easy to just go, well, let's just DoorDash. Get me some Chick-fil-A or something.
By the way, we haven't even mentioned that, like the financial probably benefit over the last 10 days for us.
True.
We should go back and look and see how much money we spent on DoorDash and restaurants
Oh, no.
in the 2 weeks before this versus really the 2 weeks since this. I bet it's $1,000 or more difference.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I bet it's significant.
for sure.
So anything else?
Obviously, we've talked about training and stuff like that, but that's not the nutrition aspect of it. But that definitely has been driving
Yes.
a
Yeah.
It's
whole.
fueled the
Yeah.
cycle for us.
I think for me with like drinking water as much as I do, it helped me from like staying away from snacks.
Yeah.
Because I just got so full on water,
Yes.
and it felt so much better for that because I just felt like, whoa, okay, this is better than just like sitting in my room and eating Snickers bars.
Yep. Yeah, I think for me, for sure, we'll continue to do MyFitnessPal. It's interesting because I've been sort of in on MyFitnessPal before, and then other times, like, it's such a pain in the butt. But I think when you're really, like, for whatever reason, I am so motivated right now. It doesn't feel like discipline at all. It feels like motivation to keep MyFitnessPal. I like being intentional. There have been times in the past where you're just trying to hit your calories or you're just trying to hit your macros. I actually like looking at the nutrients. I like looking at fiber, especially like how's my fiber doing throughout the day. And even things like in the past when I played the MyFitnessPal game, a lot of times I would just try to hit it at the end. And now I'm really looking at every single meal, making sure that I've got a good combination of protein, fat, and carbs, the right combination for me of protein, fat, and carbs to stabilize my blood sugar. So that's been really good. I think I can continue to cut out additional fat, excess fat out of my diet. I love fat. And again, I've still got places where like I like putting cashews or nuts in my Greek yogurt. Occasionally I like having a piece of fatty meat, but I'm not craving it like I used to. I mean, especially something like we eat a lot of tenderloin. Tenderloin is as tender as a ribeye with the fat of a sirloin. That's what's so great about something like a filet. So I think that's been a good, and then I really believe that my total alcohol consumption is going to go down significantly. And I think that's tied back to MyFitnessPal. When you start to see the caloric load of alcohol where you're like, man, that was a bunch of calories. So again, still haven't had it. We'll definitely have a small glass of whiskey today and a beer. My goal is to have a small glass of whiskey and a beer today. And that's it. And that's all I need. That'll be enough to kind of satiate. Like, okay, all right, there it was. I'm interested to see how it makes me feel. And we'll go from there. So the other thing that's been really fun, and we talked about this earlier, is that for me is a blast is gamifying the health metrics on my Apple Watch. So on my Apple Watch and the apps on my iPhone, I'm keeping track of everything. So from glucose and blood pressure and blood oxygen and resting heart rate. And all of those things have been really fun to kind of look at. Of course, body weight and even things like BMI, which we know BMI is not like a wonderful testament, but to start around 40 and to now be starting to get under 38 and get in the 37s for BMI, there's certainly a place where you go like, okay, this is a pretty big deal. Obviously, tracking waist for me is a big deal. So continue to just gamify it and track it. And so that'll be the plan between now and Mexico in May. And we'll keep you all updated on our progress. Yeah, so I'm excited to keep going. Awesome. Cool. Hey, thank you for going along the journey with us. If you are doing it by yourself, hopefully this has provided some amount of support to know like, hey, Matt and Rachel and his kiddos, they've been doing the same thing I'm doing right now. If you haven't started it yet, get started. You can go right now today to the website and sign up for the Take Charge 10 Nutrition Challenge. I would encourage you to do it with a spouse or significant other, with your family, because they're just great, healthy habits that anybody can do. Create a community there. Remember, one of the things I love about Barbell Logic is we have a wonderful community of both coaches and clients who can do this together. I would say, I might joke in a previous podcast, say like suffer together, but it hasn't felt like suffering. I've never been hungry. I haven't been hungry one time in the last 10 days, and yet my weight continues to go down, and my waist continues to go down, and my energy continues to go up.
Right. And I feel good. I feel successful. I don't feel like a failure if I, ate something and my calories were off at the end of the day, and I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And it was just a learning process.
Yes.
It's like, okay, oops.
Yes.
Let's do this better tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Although we've gotten better at, if we make I don't know that mistake is the right word, but maybe if you don't make a great choice or a great healthy choice for a specific meal, there's also then times to sort of bring it back into, instead of just driving off the road and going off into the middle of the woods, you can get it back on the road. Like, okay, we're just fine. Like, okay, my calories were over by 200 calories this meal. My macros were off. Like, you know what? I can actually make good choices at dinner tonight to make sure it brings that back in line. Or even for
Unless
us,
it's at dinner.
Or if if it's at dinner, we can actually do the same thing for the before bed meal, right? So for us, we're trying to eat that kind of slow digesting casein protein. So you can also so you have some choices ahead of time to really try to make sure that you just kind of keep the wheels, between the lines. It's worked well for us. Share your experiences. For us, we'd love for you to hashtag on Instagram or really any social media, but Instagram is the main thing. Hashtag TakeCharge10, TakeCharge10, and let us know how it goes for you. Thanks for riding along with us, and we'll see you next week.